The Hexagon season of Power Rangers is one that is often looked back upon by fans with a sense of great wonderment. What could have been? From a lot of what we know about what was planned for this season, it sounds like a Power Ranger fan's dream. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, I will cover everything we know about the forgotten Hexagon season today, and if it could have truly been everything that we wanted in a Power Rangers season. So Power Rangers Hexagon was going to be the 11th season of Power Rangers. It was to take place after Wild Force, but it was later changed and became Ninja Storm. But how would this season have looked? Well, if you're a fan of episodes such as Forever Red, then you're probably going to be very sad that this never came to be. The plan intended to continue some of the ideas and storylines from the Forever Red team-up episode of Power Rangers Wild Force, as well as wrap up those loose ends from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers right the way up to the Wild Force season. Hexagon was a plan in its very early stages and was started during a rocky time of transition when the direction and even continued existence of the show was in doubt. This was just one of many potential visions for a season of the show, but, to me at least, certainly sounded the best. The unused Hexagon plan, as it has come to be called, revolved around the idea of an umbrella organisation unifying most of the various Power Ranger teams that have been seen over the years. The name Hexagon came from the idea that the base of operations for this season's Ranger team would be a giant building like the Pentagon, except with 6 sides to symbolise the number of Power Rangers on most teams. It was conceived as a much larger version of Zordon's command centre, except with its location and purpose known to the public. An impregnable fortress staffed by hundreds, if not thousands, and far too well defended for any of the villains of the Power Rangers universe to try attacking. The power dynamic typically seen between heroes and villains in the show would be flipped for this season. Instead of an invasion of a vast army of evil against a few heroes operating in secret, this time the heroes would have the apparent advantage in terms of numbers and infrastructure. The Hexagon organisation was to be led by none other than Tommy Oliver, who would act as the mentor for this season's Ranger team like their Zordon or Captain Mitchell. As Forever Red illustrated, Tommy had been keeping in touch with the various Rangers over the years since the episode Passing the Torch Part 2. This older Tommy Oliver would be no longer the ponytailed teenager of the Mighty Morphin days. Tommy would look more like a federal agent in a suit. Think similar to Marvel's Nick Fury. In the original script for Forever Red, the idea was that Tommy was in retirement from being a Ranger and Andros pulled him back in for one more battle. But as the episode evolved and Jason David Frank brought the aura that only JDF can bring to Power Rangers, the line about Tommy being in retirement while filmed was ultimately cut from the episode, leaving his status in Forever Red to the viewer more mysterious. Central to the Hexagon plan was the idea of a veteran hero turned commander in charge of a super union of heroes. The team for the season would consist of the 3 base Rangers from the Sentai counterpart, Red, Blue and Yellow, who would be young recruits to Hexagon and the organisation's active duty superheroes. These powers, being ninja-based, would likely be derived from Ninja from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3, one of the many returning characters who would contribute to this season's story. Tommy would send these 3 Rangers away on missions in response to attacks by the villains. Instead of one central city where all the fighting would take place, each episode's battle could take place in various locations around the Power Rangers universe. The 3 Rangers would travel around in the Hexagon's special stealth chopper, piloted by Joel from Lightspeed Rescue, who was a planned recurring character. It would be implied that other Ranger teams were operating under the command of Hexagon, and there would be occasional cameos by other Rangers as our heroes would travel to respond to threats across the Power Rangers universe. Silver Hills, Angel Grove, Mariner Bay, Turtle Cove, and possibly even Aquitar, Miranoi, and KO-35 would all have been seen on a regular basis. Tommy, with his network of Ranger connections, made him essentially the new Zordon, and most Ranger teams could be called upon by him. The villains for this season would be various and not unified, and would even include some returning villains. Prince Gasket, Scorpina and Lokar were among the unresolved villains from previous seasons that they hoped to provide some resolution to during this season. The Sentai villains were to be used in the show, but to represent different villain factions, and the monster of the day that the Power Ranger would fight in each episode wouldn't always be from the same group. For example, the robotic monster of the day might be a Machine Empire minion of Prince Gasket, while a more organic monster might be a minion of Scorpina, who would have become a much more fleshed out character than before. The Beetle villains from the Forever Red episode were to be used as a rogue group of Power Rangers that operated outside of Hexagon. These Beetle Rangers were to be less in the traditional heroic mold of Rangers and have more of a rebellious, anti-authoritarian attitude to them. They would reject the Hexagon mentality of all superheroes operating under the leadership of one man and instead advocate that Rangers should be independent and operate on their own. Jason would also be appearing as almost a mirror opposite of a Tommy-style mentor for them. The Samurai Green Ranger would later be added in the series and for plot purposes would have been called the most powerful Ranger ever created because he would, in the end, be the final challenge for the Rangers to have to unite against a fight. It was said that the costume design with his gold breastplate was too reminiscent of the green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger to not let Tommy be his Ranger. Tommy made his bones as the Green Ranger back in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and to this day, the Green Ranger miniseries still represents possibly the best Power Ranger arc there has ever been. As the Green Ranger this season, Tommy would occasionally help the Rangers in their battles. Paying homage to the Green Ranger miniseries, Tommy and Jason would even battle each other once again. The RangerCast podcast even claimed that in the original notes, the Green Ranger would have been a different character called Derek, continuing the Eric Merrick sounds of recent 6th Rangers. He would be working as a deep undercover agent, altering his costume with or without the chest piece, and a different helmet depending on which Ranger faction he was with. Tommy would have even become the main antagonist by the end of the season as the base Rangers eventually rebel against the Hexagon after realising it had grown out of control. In the end, the heroes would fight and eventually force Tommy to see the errors of his ways, prompting him to ultimately disband Hexagon, scattering the heroes once and for all in their own corners of the Power Ranger universe. This would in a sense be the end of an era of Power Rangers, beginning in Season 1 and ending in Season 11, eliminating any unresolved issues and excess baggage to pave way for a fresh start for the show to go in any direction that they chose for Season 12. There was even a plan to explain how certain Rangers in Forever Red regained their powers. There was a plan for revealing the Phantom Ranger's identity. There was a plan for the Silver Guardians, and the Power Rangers Wild Force team up with Merrick, Zanaku, Jindrax, and Toxica, aligning with the anti-Hexagon Rangers and Cole, Taylor, Elisa, Max, and Danny assisting the Hexagon Rangers before all joining together to fight the good fight. In many ways, it was designed to clean up the Power Rangers universe and its vast mythology. The idea was not to reduce the potential of possibilities of the show, but to clarify the elements intrinsic to every incarnation of the Power Rangers concept from Zeo to Lost Galaxy to Wild Force and beyond, hopefully providing resolution to old fans, establish legacy and importance to younger fans, and refine the basic blueprint of what makes a Power Rangers season to be expanded upon for future seasons to come. If you ask me, this sounds like it certainly had the potential to be one of, if not the best season of Power Rangers ever. And for a lore nerd like me who loves delving into the history and mythology of different fictional universes, it would have been great to do something like this, even if it was purely to clean the extremely messy contradictions and plot holes throughout all of the Power Ranger franchise. What do you guys make of this? Do you wish it was made? Do you think it perhaps still could be made into a season now? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, may the power protect you, and I'll see you next time on the 6th Ranger.